ready to take on the National League. There have been hard times, and there have been moments of unsurpassed joy. High fly ball, right center field. Could the streak end the game? Yes! High fly ball to the left field. Going back to the wall is Sheffield. It's gone! You have got to be kidding me! They have battled all season against older, more established franchises, and now it comes to this. Randy Johnson on the mound, and the Arizona Diamondbacks, in only their second season, are one win away from the National League West title. Next. A cold night at 3Com Park in San Francisco, but a great air of expectation in the air for the Arizona Diamondbacks, who open this three-game series against the Giants, looking to clinch the National League's Western Division. And a pleasant good evening to you. Alongside Bob Brenly, I'm Thom Brennaman. Welcome to Diamondbacks Baseball. Bobby, the franchise was awarded on March the 9th, 1995, and here we are in the Diamondbacks' second year with a chance to make baseball history.
And, you know, I don't even think the players really grasp exactly what they're on the verge of doing. They just want to go out and play ball on a daily basis, which is what they've done every day since Tucson. Another ball game for them, but a big ball game for the rest of us.
And a big fella on the mound. Probably the main reason why the Diamondbacks were put on the map during the offseason, the signing of Randy Johnson. He'll be opposed by left-hander Shawn Estes. And Professor Brenly, our Nissan keys to the game. These are big tonight.
Well, we'll try to do our best. It's the first time for everything. The Diamondbacks are trying to do something no expansion team has ever done. Make it to the postseason in only their second year of existence. For the Giants starter Shawn Estes, we would advise him to watch out. Jay Bell, Steve Finley, Bernard Gilkey, Matt Williams, Tony Womack, a combined .439 against Shawn Estes, and focus on this game and this game only.
The Diamondbacks trying to become the first franchise in its second year to reach the playoffs. The Diamondbacks, the Giants, from San Francisco in a moment. Arizona Diamondbacks baseball is brought to you by Nissan. Driven. AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts. Blimpie subs and salads, it's a beautiful thing. America West Airlines, official airline of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Miller Lite, the great taste of a true Pilsner beer. Pepsi, the joy of cola. Infinity, official luxury vehicle of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And by Bank One, home of Diamondbacks banking. We're at 3Com Park in San Francisco, the opening game of this three-game series, and the Diamondbacks are trying to become National League Western Division champions. Buck Showalter and the U.S. West starting lineup tonight for the Diamondbacks. It'll be Tony Womack leading off at short. Jay Bell at second. Luis Gonzalez is in left field. Matt Williams, the third baseman, the former Giant. Greg Colburn is at first with Bernard Gilkey in right. Steve Finley in center. Kelly Stinnett will do the catching for the big unit. Randy Johnson. And our AutoZone pitching report on San Francisco left-hander Shawn Estes.
Shawn Estes, a left-hander that the Giants feel is going to blossom into one of the premier pitchers in the National League. You see his numbers in 30 starts this season. His last 6 starts, he's 4-2 with a 4.09 ERA. Back on the 17th of May, he faced the D-backs and lost that ball game. Went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, struck out 8 batters. Good fastball, big overhand sweeping breaking ball.
The Diamondbacks' magic number obviously is 1. They are 32 games over 500 for the first time in franchise history. And with 10 games to go this year, a remarkable 500 record, despite the fact that they lost 97 games last season. They're 157 and 157. Tony Womack Looks at a fast strike, and we're underway in San Francisco. Tony hitting at .273, 3 home runs and 38 batted in, leads the majors with 70 stolen bases. 1-1. Lined into center field, and Womack is aboard to begin the ball game. Little Caesars Pizza, San Francisco Giant defense behind Sean Estes. It'll be Barry Bonds, FP Santangelo, and Ellis Burks in left, center, and right. Bill Miller, Rich Aurelia, Jeff Kent, JT Snow third to first, with a battery of Estes in service. Can you run on Sean Estes?
See the umpires for tonight's ball game. Opponents have stolen 16 bases in 25 attempts against Estes. He's really worked hard on his slide step to home plate. Did not really have one when he came over from the Seattle Mariners in a trade for a right-hander, Solomon Torres. He's worked hard to try to control that running game.
And that one gets away from Scott's service, and Tony Womack won't have to worry about stealing second. He's standing at second with nobody out, and ball 1 to Jay Bell.
Ball just gets away. Scott Service was trying to frame that ball, hold it on the inside corner, and once again I think you're seeing an example of the candlestick winds causing problems here, even for the catcher. Ball thrown 60 feet 6 inches, and the wind caused it to clank off the end of Service's glove.
Jay Bell, a bullet off the glove of Kent into right field, and Womack is going to score. So the Diamondbacks, after 2 hitters, have a 1-0 lead here in the first inning.
Well, that's just textbook baseball for Jay Bell, hitting in that number 2 spot all year, trying to advance the runner. He stays inside the ball, lines it hard to the right side. That hard grounder just ate up Jeff Kent at second base, and Womack motoring around third with the first run of the ball game for the Diamondbacks.
Great start for the Diamondbacks as they look to clinch the Western Division championship here tonight. Womack has ignited things all season long, and then the big fellas behind him are driving him in. Gonzalez among them with 105 RBIs. He looks at a strike.
And you'll notice Estes now with Jay Bell at first base, not as much of a threat to steal a base. He'll probably go to a more traditional delivery, a little bit higher leg kick, able to generate a little more velocity on his fastball as opposed to that slide step. There's a higher leg kick you noticed from Estes. And Tony Womack was at first. On the 1 pitch he was at first base. Estes went to the slide step. And many pitchers will tell you they feel much more comfortable throwing out of a normal delivery. That slide step, at least in their minds, makes them feel that they're not generating enough velocity.
1-1 delivery, and it's grounded foul up the right field line. 1-2 on Gonzalez. Huge crowd on hand here tonight. Same story again tomorrow and Sunday. The Giants are beginning their final regular season homestand in this ballpark. Used to be known as Candlestick Park when they moved to California, moved in here in 1960. They'll play the Dodgers Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday will be the final game of baseball here for the Giants as they move into their new ballpark, Pac Bell Park, starting next year.
You see the tell it goodbye countdown. A wall in left center field. 201 days until the opening of that new stadium.
Diamondbacks an early 1-0 lead. Jay Bell at first, nobody out, and the 1-2 on Gonzalez is in the dirt. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, the new ballpark just south of the city, just at the base of the Bay Bridge, actually very close to the base of the Bay Bridge, will probably change the way the Giants go about building their team in the future. It's only 307 feet down the right field line.
Good news for that man.
Good news for left-handed hitters. Bad news for right-handed pitchers, however. And the Giants figure to build their future rotation around young right-hander Russ Ortiz and young right-hander Joe Nathan. Quite an inviting target, 307 feet. Of course, there will be a wall atop the 307-foot fence as it goes around into right center field to make it a little more difficult for those left-handed pull hitters.
3-2 pitch. Runner goes, and a little flare into left field. A base hit by Gonzalez, and Jay Bell will turn the corner. Bond slips and falls. Bell is going to score. The Diamondbacks lead 2-0. A hit and run single by Gonzalez. An error by Bonds allows Bell to score. What a start here for the Diamondbacks. They've given Randy Johnson a 2-0 advantage.
Bonds charging almost out of control here. The ball hits the fingertips of his glove, then he slips attempting to retreat after the ball. Brian Butterfield had initially held Jay Bell at third base, but then when he saw Bonds slip to the ground, he waved him on home. Yeah, that's good base running by Jay Bell. He did not assume anything as he came into third base. Run hard from one base until somebody tells you to stop. It would have been very easy for a lot of runners to start breaking it down halfway to third base, assuming that you're going to get third and no more. But Jay Bell was going hard the whole way, which gave Butterfield the option of sending him, and he scored easily.
So now it'll be Matt Williams. 35 home runs, 138 batted in. Back on May the 7th, he squared off with Sean Estes. See you later. Matt Williams has done a lot of damage in this ballpark. Came up a giant. He's down 0-1. He's traded a highly controversial deal which sent Matt Williams, after a star-studded career in San Francisco, to Cleveland for 1 year, and then came to the Diamondbacks prior to last season. Huge numbers for Matt against Estes. Oh. 1-1.
Estes is a guy that will occasionally pitch himself into trouble. In 194 innings of work coming into tonight, it struck out 153 batters, a very solid number, but had also walked 105.
Three batters have reached against Estes to begin the game. 3 straight singles, and the Diamondbacks have a 2-0 lead. And Williams fouls it away. It's 1-2. Well, you walked in that Diamondbacks clubhouse, Bobby, before the game. You and I were down there on the playing field. Buck Showalter, nervous, emotional, all the, I guess, specter that you could possibly visit. At one point or another, he touched on that emotional screen throughout this day and this entire ball club. This team very excited. Playoff-like atmosphere tonight. An abnormally large number of media have come to join the team here in San Francisco. A lot of Diamondback fans have made the trip. I ran into about a dozen people last night walking around the streets here with Arizona Diamondbacks written all over them. 2-2.
You couple the possibility of clinching the Western Division here with the closing of 3Com Park. Very much a playoff atmosphere before the ball game today. Big crowd on hand. They expect huge crowds for all the remaining games here at 3Com Park.
We had a finale against the Dodgers on that Thursday afternoon, already sold out. 2-2 to Matt Williams. And now the count is full.
I think the Giants made a tremendous move. They invited former Dodger manager Tommy Lasorda back to help close out Candlestick Park. For so many years as a manager of the Dodgers, one of the highlights of the evening was when Tommy came out that right field door from the clubhouses and walked the length of the right field foul line to get to the third base dugout.
3-2, fouled off by Williams.
As you might expect, the fans giving him a hard time as he came out that particular door right there and walked all the way down in front of all the Candlestick fans, and the taunts that they threw his way, and Tommy would blow kisses and tip his cap. It was really quite an event. I think it's a great move that the Giants invited him back for the final hurrah of Candlestick Park.
No doubt about it. There's ball 4 to Williams. 4 straight Diamondbacks have reached to begin the ball game against Estes. 3 hits and now a walk.
You know, Tommy, and on the other hand, I spent a lot of time in the Giants clubhouse today. Kind of a quiet resignation. Obviously, they're going to go out. They're going to play every game the remainder of the season as hard as they can. They hope to postpone any celebrations on their own ball field, but you almost sense that the Giants understand what is about to happen. They've been there many, many times in the recent past, and although they may not like it, they're going to be gracious, I'm sure.
Greg Colburn puts a charge into one, center field, but room out there for Santangelo. Tagging is Gonzalez. He'll advance on to third. Williams stays at first. One out in the inning. Good base running there by Luis Gonzalez to get to third with only one out.
It's always important to be an aggressive base runner, but especially here at 3Com Park with the swirling winds. Take advantage every base you can get. Bernard Gilkey with outstanding numbers against Sean Estes in his career.
Gilkey 283 overall on the season, 7 home runs and 28 runs batted in. He thought about it. It's low, ball one. Glad to have you with us on this Friday night. Don't dare go away. You may see a slice of Arizona history here. Certainly the head man, Jerry Colangelo, his wife Joan, their entire family on hand here tonight, and hope to be doing some serious celebrating later on. As Gilkey drives one into right center field, Santangelo on the run. It's off the wall. Gonzalez scores. Here comes Williams. They'll hold him. An RBI double by Gilkey has made it 3-0 Diamondbacks. And they are laying into Sean Estes right from the get-go here tonight.
Well, in past games here at 3Com Park, we've talked about that wind tunnel to right center field for a right-handed hitter. Gilkey hit that ball, make no mistake about it, but as it got up to the top of its flight, it just continued to carry away from FP Santangelo further into that gap in right center field. Santangelo got a little too close to the fence and the carom bounced over his head. Fortunately for the Giants, Ellis Burks backing up the play. We mentioned in our keys to the game, there are several Diamondbacks who have tremendous career numbers against Sean Estes, and so far they're exhibiting why here in the first inning.
Steve Finley, the batter, 31 home runs, 97 batted in. The infield drawn in, a little flare into shallow center. Santangelo the catch. Here comes Williams. Here comes a throw. It's offline. The Diamondbacks lead 4-0. They have played almost fundamentally perfect baseball, Bobby, here in this first inning. Bell going to the right side. The deep fly ball by Colburn. Heads up base running by Gonzalez. And now Finley the sac fly.
And it's a good thing to always take a chance on outfielders' arms here at 3Com. So hard to get an on-line throw. Charging that ball as Santangelo was. You see Matt Williams chugging down that line. Slides to the inside just in case Service comes back with a tag, but no play to be made at home plate. Good base running all the way around.
Kelly Stinnett, the 8th man to bat in what has been a 4-run Diamondbacks first inning. And Randy Johnson given 4 runs here in the top of the first before he ever takes the mound at 3Com Park.
Well, the D-backs have had a lot of trouble scoring runs for Randy Johnson this year. I guess these are all the runs they've held in reserve.
Right. They saved them for this night. One and 0 on Stinnett. And there's ball 2.
Well, there was some question as to who was going to catch this ball game for the Diamondbacks tonight. Very late announcement that Kelly Stinnett would indeed catch Randy Johnson tonight. Damian Miller still bothered somewhat by that sore right wrist and right thumb.
Two and 1 to Stinnett. Swung on and fouled out of play. The Diamondbacks against the Giants this season have gone 6-3, and they have lit up Giant pitching. They have scored 16 runs in a game. Twice they have scored 12. They've thrown up 10, 8, 7, 4 here in the first inning tonight. 3-2 on Stinnett. To go. We're only in the the top half of the first inning. So far, so good for the D-backs, leading by 4. And this should end the opening inning as Kent throws out Stinnett. 8 men bat, 4 runs, 4 hits. The Giants bat when we return. Locked and loaded. Bottom half of the first inning we go here at 3 comp. Diamondbacks have jumped on Dusty Baker's Giants for a 4-0 lead. The U.S. West starting lineup for San Francisco. F.P. Santangelo in center, Bill Miller at third, Barry Bonds in left, Jeff Kent the second baseman, Ellis Burks in right having a big year, Rich Aureli the shortstop. A latter third of J.T. Snow, Scott Service, and Sean Estes. The AutoZone pitching report on Randy Johnson.
And we all know about the 15-9 one-loss record. That could be considerably better given the way he's pitched. Has not faced the Giants yet in 1999 before this evening. You see his 342 strikeouts this year, number 6 on the all-time season strikeout list. Number 5 is Bob Feller at 347. Rube Waddell, 349.
The Little Caesars Pizza Diamondback defense behind Randy Johnson. Gonzalez, Finley, and Gilkey. You saw them all bat in the first inning except for Johnson. Williams, Womack, Bell, and Colburn. Stinnett behind the plate for the big unit. Randy Johnson enters tonight leading the major leagues in strikeouts, complete games, innings pitched, all career highs. At third, 342, 11, and 255 and 2/3 respectively. He tops the National League, as Bobby mentioned, with that ERA. He is third in the majors and lowest opponent's batting average at 212. And is tops in the National League with 12 strikeouts per 9 innings. And yet, despite all those numbers, Bobby, there's debate as to whether Johnson will win the Cy Young.
Well, not in this booth.
No.
Not taking anything whatsoever away from Mike Hampton or Billy Wagner or Jose Lima or Kevin Millwood or any of the other pitchers that have had great years. Nobody has dominated the league the way Randy Johnson has. And the one-loss record is really out of his hands. Team just did not score runs for a couple of different stretches this year, but Randy was pitching some of his best ball of the season.
1-1 on F.P. Santangelo. You mentioned, Bobby, that Johnson has not faced the Giants this season. The only time he's ever pitched against him, he wore a Mariner uniform during interleague play. June 8th of 1998 and lost 4-3.
Somewhat of a local product. Grew up in Walnut Creek over in the East Bay, just on the other side of the bay from 3 Com Park. Although it's considerably warmer over there.
Yeah. It is a cool night. It will be a very cold night before all is said and done. 3-1. Well, Bobby, the first time that Johnson has pitched in these kind of conditions.
Well, generally pitchers like pitching here at 3 Com Park because of the cool weather. They stay warm. They're busy enough and active enough physically out there on the mound to stay warm.
Every pop fly can be an adventure. Jay Bell handles that one easily, 1 away.
The only time you may have concern with Randy is should the Diamondbacks have another extended offensive inning where they send many batters to the plate. Johnson sits around for a long time before taking the mound once again. There's always a possibility that in that long time while your team is hitting, you can get stiff, maybe develop some problems before going back out to take the mound.
Bill Miller pops it up into foul ground, and that ball will drift out of play. The Buck Showalter has already made it known in talking with Randy Johnson. They've moved him back a couple of days, 1 start already this season. He's thrown more innings than he's ever thrown in a full year before. So if he gets a big lead, the Diamondbacks have that extended inning you're talking about, Bobby. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Randy leave this game early. It's still a long ways down the road tonight. 0-2 on Miller. The 342 strikeouts for Johnson. We mentioned a personal best. 13 more than he had all of last season. As that one is fair down the line into the corner. Slipping is Gilkey in right field. And Miller will advance on to second base. Footing looks very bad out there early on tonight.
Candlestick Park, or 3Com Park, has always been a notoriously moist field. Being at sea level, the fog rolls in. See Miller fighting off a high fastball down the right field line, just fair. Gilkey slips as that ball caroms off the padding out there along the wall. Well, the grass always seems damp here, and especially this time of year after the 49ers have started to play. The temporary football bleachers come out from the right field stands out toward the infield, and footing is always treacherous in right and right center field at this time of year.
Now Barry Bonds, and he takes down and in, ball one. Bonds at 267, 33 home runs and 81 runs batted in. Those are phenomenal numbers. And you may say, well, wait a minute now, he's had better years than that. Yeah, you're right. But Barry Bonds, limited to just 98 games this season. That one rolled foul. He suffered from elbow surgery. He's had groin problems, most recently knee inflammation. Had the elbow operated on back in April and missed 52 games. Look at those numbers for Bonds against Randy Johnson. And bear in mind, left-handed hitters this season have a total of 8 hits against Randy Johnson.
Well, Bonds is the kind of hitter that figures to do well against Randy Johnson. He doesn't overswing, a very controlled, strong stroke within the strike zone. Those are the kind of guys that usually get to Randy. Although if Bonds chases that fastball up there around the letters, he's going to have a rough night.
Left-handed batters the last 2 seasons against Randy Johnson, as you get a look at his pitch first.
I mean, that's just some high gas up above the belt.
Lefties are hitting 146 against Johnson with 3 extra base hits in 2.5 years. Nearly 3 full years. Three-two to Bonds. And excuse me, swing. Williams juggles, throws offline. That'll be an error on Matt Williams.
Always a tougher play for a third baseman when that ball is coming their direction off the bat of a left-hander. Many times it will have some very unusual spin, especially with that check swing. You can see Matty move to his right to get into position. That ball just seemed to eat him up as it got right in front of him there. I'm sure that ball had some serious English on it.
Second error in the last 2 series for Matt Williams. He had only committed 1 error in the prior 66 games. Ball 1 to Jeff Kent. 21 home runs, 97 runs batted in for Kent. If he can get to 100 RBIs, he will become just the 3rd second baseman to knock in 100 or more runs in 3 straight years. High pop fly into right. Gilkey a long run. He'll get there. 2 away.
The Giants with 5 players this year to hit 20 or more home runs. 3rd time that's happened in franchise history. Most recently back in 1963. Some very familiar names to baseball fans. Willie McCovey, Willie Mays, Orlando Cepeda, Felipe Alou, and Ed Bailey all hit 20 or more. This year the Giants have Bonds, Kent, Burks, Aurelia, and Snow, all to have hit 20 or more homers.
And here is Ellis Burks, the 29 home runs, 91 batted in. 2 on, 2 out. And there's ball 1.
Ellis Burks, another hitter that's done fairly well against the big unit. Another guy with a very short, quick, compact swing.
That one down to Burks. Johnson behind, 2 balls and no strikes. Came with a fastball up, and Burks chases. You saw it, 98 miles per hour, that fastball from Johnson.
That's a pitch that Burks will chase. He's a good high fastball hitter. He likes that ball up and over the plate and can do some damage, but 98 is it's like that old story about I like ice cream, but I don't need 20 gallons of it. I like to hit high fastballs, but let's be serious.
3-1 now on Ellis Burks. Diamondbacks gave Johnson 4 runs in the top half of this first inning. The Giants have 2 on here in the bottom of the inning. And that one hit into left field pretty well. Back to the wall, Gonzalez. It's a 1-run game.
Good lesson for young pitchers right there. If you put yourself into a situation where that hitter can guess fastball and swing at a fastball before you even deliver that pitch, he's got a pretty good chance of catching up to whatever it is you're throwing. Another fastball in the high 90s, but Burks with no thought whatsoever about an off-speed pitch, a breaking ball, or a changeup. Just geared up his swing to hit fastball and jumped all over that one.
Giant fans want a curtain call for Ellis Burks, and he gives it to him. So now a 1-run Diamondbacks lead. The two teams combined for 7 here in the first, and it's not through yet. Rich Aurelia, 20 home runs, 75 runs batted in. Well, we said in the top of the first inning, Diamondbacks ahead 4-0. Don't start the celebrating quite yet. That is one of the real traits about this Giants team under that man, Dusty Baker. Even though they realize, as you brought up earlier, Bobby, that it's all but over. They understand that. The Diamondbacks would have to lose every game the rest of the way. The Giants would have to win every game the rest of the way. They're not just going to roll over.
That may sound like a cliche, but you know, the Giants are playing for pride right now. They've been very vocal about it in the local papers. They don't want to see another celebration on their field.
Aurelia follows a home run with a base hit into left field. Well, now we see a matchup of J.T. Snow against Randy Johnson. And Bobby, I'm not sure if words could quite describe the admiration you have to have for J.T. Snow to step in there against Randy Johnson. We all remember what happened in spring training a couple of years ago in Arizona when he was hit in the face by a Johnson pitch during Cactus League play. That came on March the 11th, 97 at Scottsdale Stadium. He fractured the lower orbit of his left eye. It was a horrifying thing just to watch. He's never faced him since that at bat. And he was actually, J.T. Snow during the Dodgers series was talking to a member of the local media and said, I'd like a chance to face Randy Johnson again. That reporter then told Dusty Baker that. Baker double checked with Snow, said, you sure about this? He said, yeah, I want to get in there.
Well, J.T. Snow certainly with nothing to prove to anybody else other than himself. He told Dusty, I will play against Randy Johnson.
And look at that. Smokes one into left field, caught by Gonzalez, and the inning is over. The Giants get 3 on a big error and a 3-run homer by Burks. It's a 1-run game. You're dialed into the majors with US West. Here's what else is happening around baseball. Chipper Jones, what a series he had in the Braves sweep of the New York Mets. Did that make him the MVP? Cal Ripken will undergo back surgery. His season is over. 9 hits shy of 3,000. And the amazing Ken Griffey Jr. 2 home runs away from 50 on the year and 400 in his career. And he is not even sniffing his 30th birthday.
And he does have an agent, is that correct?
Yes, he does.
Darn it.
Maybe you and I could go to work for Brian Goldberg's office. Ken Griffey Jr. played with both of these guys, Randy Johnson and Sean Estes, who originally came up with Seattle.
Estes, a promising young left-hander in that Mariners organization that just never seemed to get over the hump. Giants made a trade with a right-hander of their own that never seemed to get over the hump, Solomon Torres. Both outstanding young prospects. Certainly have to say the Giants got the better end of that deal. Solomon Torres, to the best of my knowledge, is out of the game of baseball right now after a very undistinguished stint in Seattle. Sean Estes, as I mentioned earlier, on the brink of becoming one of the better left-handers in the league.
Estes had a rocky first inning. The first 4 Diamondbacks reached, 3 hits and a walk. He scored 4 runs. Johnson pops it up, foul ground, the wind blowing it near the seats, and Snow reaches in. Did he get it? Snow falling into the seats and has the ball. What a play by JT Snow.
You wonder why he's got a mantle full of gold gloves at home. JT Snow with a lot of foul territory here at 3Com. A couple of peaks. He knows he's close. He gives it a dive, tumbles over the railing into the seats, and somehow manages to hang on to that foul pop-up off the bat of Randy Johnson. What a play.
Doesn't get any better than that.
Phil Cousy, the umpire, hustling right over there to get a look to make sure that ball did not come out of the glove as he tumbled over the railing, but JT Snow was able to hang on.
1 away in the inning for Tony Womack. He started off the ball game with a single into center field, went to second on a pass ball, scored on a single by Jay Bell. 1-1 to Womack. 4-3 Diamondbacks lead. We are in the top of the second.
Generally, I would talk about it with catchers, guys saving runs by blocking balls in the dirt with the runner at third base. But if you talk to the people on this Giants ball club, they'll tell you that JT Snow has saved them a bunch of runs this year with his defensive play around the bag at first and in the front row of the bleachers, for that matter.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt, is there, Bobby? He'll win that Gold Glove again this year?
No, I don't think so. There are a lot of Mark Grace supporters out of Chicago, and Grace is certainly one of the better defenders in all of baseball, but JT Snow is in a class by himself.
Nice play by Aurelia. Going to his knees for that pickup, getting up and throwing out the speedy Womack. 2 gone in the Diamondbacks second.
Rich Aurelia getting the full-time job at shortstop this year for the Giants. Had a big offensive year. He has made 26 errors. Occasionally that arm will get a little erratic, but a very nice play right there.
Jay Bell, an RBI single, later scored in the 4-run first inning. Looks at a strike.
In the new ballpark next year, we would not get to see JT Snow make that particular play. The stands are going to be very, very close to the field, unlike here at 3Com Park, where there is seemingly acres of room in foul territory to shag those foul pop-ups.
That'd make a nice backyard right there.
But once again, it's going to change the way the Giants are going to think about building their ball club for the future. I mean, just a little thing like that, the amount of foul territory, will make it tougher on the pitchers. It's going to make it a lot easier on the hitters. Once again, another example of the way modern baseball seems to gear everything toward the offense.
2 down, nobody on. It's 3-2 to Jay Bell. And he hammers one deep into left field, down the line. Bonds won't get it. It's fair into the corner. And Jay Bell, with his second hit in as many innings, goes into second with a stand-up double. Well, what a year this guy's having. He cooled off for a little while there about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and now he is just hotter than he's been all year long.
And it couldn't happen at a better time for the Diamondbacks. You always like to be playing your best ball at the most crucial time of the season. See Bonds play at one hop off the 335 mark, holding Bell to a double. All those guys money hitters. A lot of guys can rack up big stats in an 11-3 ball game, in a 9-0 blowout. The guys that come through with the big hits when you really need them are the money hitters.
And they don't always have to be the stars, do they, Bobby?
Absolutely not. I mean, if you talk about this Giants ball club, you know, the first names that would jump to your mind are Bonds and Kent, rightfully so. Great offensive players, great defensive players, but I think if you talk to people close to the ball club, they'll tell you that Ellis Burks has had a bigger year than both of those guys as far as when he got his hits and his home runs. When he drove the runs in. When the Giants really needed him, Burks came through.
And even here tonight for the Diamondbacks in that first inning, Bernard Gilkey, very little playing time. First time up, smokes a double into right center, knocks in a run. 0-2 to Gonzalez. And he fouls it away. Gonzalez singled and scored in the first inning. He has Bell at second with 2 away. Diamondbacks leading 4-3 in the second. Crowd wanted the call. No deal, says Brian Gorman. That one hits Gonzalez in the back. Big time mistake right there by Sean Estes. Ahead of Gonzalez in 1 and 2. He drills him to face Matt Williams. But that felt good on a cold night.
Well, fortunately for Gonzo, it appeared like he took it on a very meaty part of the body, that upper back area. Didn't hit him in the elbow, didn't hit him in the shoulder, the wrist, or any of those places that tend to hurt for a long time. That'll leave a bruise. That'll leave a mark.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a mark you can live with.
Matt Williams walked and scored in the Diamondbacks first. And there's ball one low and away. Diamondbacks a 2-out threat here. Johnson and Womack retired to start the inning, but Bell a double, and now Gonzalez hit by a pitch. Good fastball there from Estes, a strike.
Matty, good numbers with 2 outs and runners in scoring position in this particular situation.
That one will get out of play. Estes ahead and 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Estes with 53 pitches already here in the second inning of this ball game. Dusty's had to go to his bullpen early and often a lot this year, a lot more than he would have liked.
One and 2 to Matt Williams with 2 on and 2 out. An excuse me swing. Estes makes the play, underhands to Snow, and the inning is over. Diamondbacks lead 2. Giants bat in the bottom of the second, trailing 4-3.
Go inside, where the exclusives matter, where the investigations stand out, where the moments get to you.
We don't give up.
Go inside with Inside Edition.
Weekdays at 4 on Free TV.
Bottom half of the second inning we go. Diamondbacks leading the Giants 4-3. Oh, we're not talking about baseball. Bob Brenly's favorite topic of conversation is always pizza, and more specifically, Little Caesars Pizza. one of our proud sponsors of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Sue Sherbo, the Vice President of Communications with Little Caesars Pizza, kind enough to join us here in the booth tonight. Good evening, Sue.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to be here at such an exciting game.
Absolutely, and you've been very, very busy, I know, putting together a great program, and Little Caesars has always been known as being an integral part of communities all over America, not only selling pizzas, but also trying to give something back to the community. And this year it's Little Caesars Pizza Kits.
Right. We developed a new program to help organizations like school groups, amateur sports teams, church groups, any nonprofit organization raise money for their group. And we developed a kit that has 3 complete pizza sets in it. The crust, already made, cheese, sauce, and pepperoni. Everything's ready to go. The kits cost $16.50, and the group gets to keep $5 of that.
So this is the kind of program, and obviously there are different things like this that go on in every kind of organization, like you're talking about, Little League team or a church group. They'll decide, okay, we're going to try and raise some money. And this is a way for them to then, the kids get out there and they got to start their careers early on, Bobby, like your son Michael, and get out there, or your daughter Lacey, and sell these kits. And then they get to keep that $5 out of the 16 for their group.
Right. We've had groups raise anywhere from $1,000 to $50,000 with this program.
The group that raised $50,000 came to my house. I remember that.
And did you eat them all in a month?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You kidding me? That's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, Sue, for Mr. Brenly. I mean, I got to ask you if this pizza and these kits have passed the Bob Brenly Taste Challenge, because I told you, Sue, that nobody can eat pizza like the guy to your right here. He ought to be your national spokesperson.
Well, maybe we'll have to think about that.
Well, you may have to look into it. So if groups want to get involved, how do they do it?
They can call our number 1-888-4LC-KITS. They can visit our website, too, at www.pizzakit.com.
So please, if your group is trying to think of a way to raise some money, this is a terrific program sponsored by Little Caesars. And I know you guys have this going all over the country, right?
Right, and it's very easy to do. When you call the number, we have all the materials for you, all the sales materials, all the things that go to parents. It's just such an easy program to administer. And who doesn't like pizza?
Well, you got that right. No doubt about that one.
And making your own pizza. I mean, there's something to be said for putting the sauce and the cheese and the pepperoni on there, making a smiley face or something with the pepperoni, pop that thing in the oven, and when it comes out, it's something that you had a hand in making.
You know, it's funny you should say that, because kids really love to make their own pizza. So it is a great opportunity kind of for the family to get together and make their own pizzas together.
What do you mean kids like to make their own pizzas?
Sorry.
I love to make my own pizzas.
Well, we're going to give you that number one more time. And Sue, we can't thank you enough for taking the time, not only to stop by and put this program together, and we wish you the best of luck on it. And if you're at home, there you see 888-4LC-KITS, 452-5487. Get your group involved. And I know you got a plane to catch tonight to Los Angeles before you go all the way back home to Detroit. So safe travels and the best of luck with the program. Thanks for everything.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Sue Sherbo, kind enough to join us from Little Caesars Pizza. Well, it is a great program, and we'll give you that number again a little bit later on. And if you're smart, you would find out where Bob Brenly lives, and you'll just send your group there.
Just park the van in the driveway and keep those pizza kits coming. I had to put in a new double oven just to accommodate all the pizzas.
First two batters fanned here in the second inning by Randy Johnson. He gave up the 3-run home run to Ellis Burks in the first inning. It's a 4-3 ball game. Diamondbacks ahead as F.P. Santangelo steps to the plate for the Giants. 0-1. Johnson, his first 2 strikeouts of the game, and that one is dribbled foul. He's ahead of Santangelo, 0-2. to FP Santangelo, and that one way outside from Johnson.
Wind really gusting here at 3Com right now. You notice Randy wearing the long sleeves out there on the mound. That's another minor adjustment you have to make to playing here in San Francisco. No matter where the ballpark is, it's going to be chilly. And if you're not used to wearing long sleeves and long johns and all the other assorted undergarments you need to wear to stay warm, it can sometimes inhibit the way you throw the ball. I mean, the fans are used to it here. Even the fans that came from Arizona came prepared.
The ones with blankets are the regulars. That one popped up behind the plate and out of play. It'll stay 2-2 on FP Santangelo. Boy, he's been a nice addition to this Giants team this year. He doesn't have enough at bats to qualify. He only gets a start maybe about 2 days a week on average. But if he had enough plate appearances to qualify, he would rank 9th in the National League with his .411 on base percentage. That means over 41% of the time when he comes to the plate, he's finding a way to get on base.
And people close to the Giants will tell you that he is probably their best defensive center fielder as well. Marvin Bernard getting the overwhelming majority of playing time in center field, and rightfully so, because he's hit .291 this season with 15 homers and 61 RBIs as a leadoff hitter. But Santangelo can go get him in center.
Boy, this is a perfect at bat to give you an idea of what Santangelo is all about. Fell behind 0-2 to Johnson. Went to 1-2, fouled one off. Went to 2-2, fouled it off. Took a ball, running the count full, and now fouls away the 3-2 pitch. Eighth pitch of the at bat. And he went around, and Randy Johnson fans aside in the second inning. So we move to the third, 4-3 Diamondbacks. It's time for our multi-award winning rendition of Ask Thom and Bob, brought to you by the Diamondbacks official website, azdiamondbacks.com, and Rhino Productions. Bill Hartman of Phoenix would like to know, Bobby, why did they lower the pitching mound from 18 inches down to 12 inches?
Well, they did that after the 1968 season when pitchers suddenly totally dominated the game of baseball. I believe there were 8 pitchers in the major leagues with an ERA of under 2. I mean, Carl Yastrzemski led the American League in hitting with a .301 batting average. Major League Baseball felt that fans were more interested in seeing some offense, so they lowered the mound down, swinging the advantage in favor of the hitters, and it has continued to this day.
It's when Denny McLain had a huge year. Bob Gibson had a minuscule ERA.
112 for Gibson, and Denny McLain went 31-6.
Pretty good year.
Not bad.
Not bad. 31-6. It's amazing you get 37 decisions. Tonight is Randy Johnson's 34th start. He will make only one more start between now and the end of the season, as that one is off the glove of Aurelia into center field. We'll see how they rule that. That looked like a routine play. Aurelia going to his left and could not come up with the ball. They've scored it a base hit.
The middle infielders here at 3Com Park over the year have complained about the background. After the ball comes off the hitter's bat, you can see Aurelia looking back as if perhaps he lost that ball, perhaps in a shirt or a jacket or something behind home plate. And they actually had a day here one year when they gave away white Giants t-shirts to the first 30,000 people, and it seemed like all 30,000 of them sat directly behind home plate. Infielders and outfielders never saw the ball coming off the bat in that particular game. So we talk a lot about the hitter's background, what they see in the background of the pitcher, but the fielders also worry about the background when the ball comes off the bat.
They have just changed that scoring decision. It was originally ruled a base hit, and it is now an error by the shortstop, Rich Aurelia. Already the second error of the game by the Giants. One and one on Bernard Gilkey, who had a run scoring double to right center field in the Diamondbacks' 4-run first inning. Colburn has only attempted one stolen base all year long. He was thrown out. And another breaking ball down and into Gilkey, 2-1.
And once again, you can see Sean Estes going to the high leg kick with Colbrin over there at first base. Not likely to attempt a steal. Also, you'll notice Scott Service behind the plate for the Giants. He's going to be a busy man tonight. Estes has uncorked 14 wild pitches this year, most of them coming on that big sweeping breaking ball, and Service so far has done a nice job of keeping it in front.
2-2 to Gilkey.
You notice Sean Estes, as he put his mitt on right there, put all 5 fingers inside the glove. I mentioned it on an earlier broadcast that he was one of the pitchers that used to tip his pitches with the finger outside of the glove. If it was a fastball, his finger would stay flush against the mitt. If it was a breaking ball, his finger would come up off the glove. Opposing hitters could see that and read his pitches as Gilkey goes down looking at a big breaking ball. So in order to counteract that, Estes just stuck all the fingers inside the glove and will not give the hitters any advantage.
Well, it's hard to believe that ever happened in the first place.
Well, you'd be surprised at some of the things pitchers do unwittingly. They don't even know they're doing it. And Estes, really, we didn't discover it until he was throwing a side session in the bullpen one day, and teams were repeatedly whacking that big breaking ball, guys that shouldn't hit it. And we felt there had to be something in his delivery that was tipping the pitches, so we watched him very closely down the bullpen one day, and it became very obvious. One of those things that, geez, why didn't we see that before?
Were you the one that pointed that out?
Well, I was among those. Dick Pohl, the pitching coach at the time, was down there as well, and I actually took a stance in the batter's box just like a hitter would, just to try to see if there was something in the delivery, and eventually we noticed the finger off the glove on the breaking ball against the glove on the fastball.
Well, I'm not asking you to pound your chest here, but I mean, you were the guy standing in the box. Were you the one that said first, hey, wait a minute, are you doing this with your finger on the breaking ball on the fastball?
I probably was.
Okay. Again, I know you wouldn't, brag yourself about being the guy, but somebody had to say it first.
Well, and those are the kind of things coaches do. We talk a lot about Buck and his staff and how they go over game films at the end of the ball game. Well, you look for things like that. You watch the opposing catcher. Some catchers, when they call for a fastball, will get in a very comfortable position to receive the ball because they know that that pitcher is probably going to throw it where he wants to.
That one rolled foul.
On the other hand, if you call for a breaking ball or a split-fingered fastball, a pitch that's more likely to go into the dirt, you'll see catchers get up off of their haunches and get ready in the event they have to block a ball. Well, those are things that are very easy to pick up from the opposing dugout. And we stole some signs from opposing catchers just watching the way they receive the ball. Always looking for an edge.
That can mean the difference sometimes between winning and losing, a lot of times. Over in the runner at first, reached on the air by Rich Aurelia. Gilkey gone on strikes, and now it's 1-2 to Steve Finley. And it's a base hit through the hole into right field. Colbrin will make a short turn and then stop at second base. Finley, a sac fly run batted in, now a single. And again, the Diamondbacks threatening to add to this 4-3 lead.
Steve Finley taking advantage of that hole on the right side of the infield. J.T. Snow holding on Greg Colbrin over there at first base. Not enough range to get over there, and even make an attempt to knock that ball down as it rolls into right field. Now Snow will play behind Steve Finley at first, since there's a runner at second base, giving himself much more range on that right side.
Kelly Stinnett, the batter. He grounded out to second base, ending the 4-run first inning. 2 on with 1 out here in the third. Trouble here. Miller to second. No, it's into right field. Coming around and scoring is Colbrin. On to third goes Finley, the third error for the Giants. And it is 5-3 Diamondbacks on what looked like a tailor-made double play ball. You almost wonder why Miller didn't go to third.
Oh, he just pulls that ball away from Jeff Kent at second base. He looks down at his hand after letting the ball go. Well, you're right, Tom. That seemed to be a tailor-made double play ball. Now with one out in the inning and the big unit coming to the plate, Brian Butterfield calls him down for a quick coaching lesson. You would figure Johnson to be bunting for a sacrifice in this situation to get Stinnett down to second base. If it's a perfect bunt and Finley feels he can score, he may come home from third.
Very sloppy play on both sides early on here tonight. The Giants have committed 3 errors, 2 here in the third inning. And a Matt Williams error allowed the Giants to send Ellis Burks to the plate in the first inning. And he hit a 3-run home run.
And no sign of bunt that time from Randy Johnson. And one of the ways you combat a sacrifice bunt is to throw high fastballs, figuring that the batter may pop the ball in the air as he attempts to bunt. High fastballs are right in Randy's wheelhouse, the one pitch that he may have a chance to drive. So perhaps Buck Showalter going to turn him loose here. No sign of bunt again.
And no sign of being near the strike zone by Estes. It's 2-0. Get a good look at Finley at third base. Stinnett is at first. Let's see what Johnson's doing 2-0. Estes wondering if he would perhaps show an early sign there of whether he was going to swing away or shorten up the bunt.
That's exactly what he was trying to do. Kelly Stinnett only had about a 2-step leadoff over there at first base, but we throw that pickoff throw over there hoping that perhaps the batter will tip his hand.
Base hit and an RBI by Randy Johnson. And scoring is Steve Finley. It is 6-3 Diamondbacks. Johnson knocks in his 6th run of the year.
Yeah, just like a good hitter, he worked the count in his favor, got a pitch he liked, and drilled it into center field. And the big unit on a mission tonight. There's the high fastball he's been waiting for. Stayed with it, lined it right back up the middle of the field.
Well, the Diamondbacks have increased their lead to 3. The big unit will put the jacket on this cool night here in San Francisco. We're only in the third inning. Long way to go here at 3Com Park. And a breaking ball in there to Tony Womack. We saw that Diamondback 4-0 lead nearly evaporate in the bottom of the first as Mark Gardner begins to throw in the Giant bullpen.
Boy, Estes really taking a lot off the last couple of breaking balls here to Tony Womack. Estes will occasionally get into one of those modes where he tries to throw each pitch harder than the one before. That time, however, against Womack, he's taking a little off that curveball, making the break a little bigger.
One and two now on Tony Womack. The Giants come in the 4th best fielding percentage team in the league behind the Mets, the Diamondbacks, and Houston. They're kicking it all over the place here tonight. 2-2 to Womack. Two-two pitch. In the air, left center field. Santangelo with a beat on it. 2 away in the inning, and everybody stays put.
Sean Estes up to 76 pitches here in the top of the 3rd inning. He's not shouldn't be scheduled to hit in the bottom half of the inning. The Giants are down to the number 2 spot in the order. Mark Gardner continuing to throw down in that Giants bullpen, and now Scott Service stalling for a little bit of time behind home plate. A little equipment repair there as Gardner continues to throw.
Jay Bell, the batter, his 3rd trip in as many innings. He has singled, knocked in a run, scored a run, and he's doubled.
Jay Bell, another one of those Diamondbacks with outstanding career numbers against Sean Estes.
On the inside corner, evening the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. on, 2 out, 1-1 to Bell is fouled out of play, first base side. So now Estes ahead of the Diamondbacks second baseman at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Bell in his last 25 games has been a .354 hitter with 21 runs batted in. You know, Bobby, you and I have talked to a lot of people who ask us a question, you know, who's the leader of this Diamondback team? In a lot of ways, I think you and I both agree, maybe more so than anybody, is Jay Bell. Very quiet, unassuming guy, but not afraid to let people know exactly what's going on and how they ought to be doing things. The inning is over as Bell strikes out. Diamondbacks take advantage of 2 errors, score 2 runs, and lead 6-3. Arizona Diamondbacks baseball is being brought to you in part by Gila River Casinos and Ultimate Gaming Experience. Little Caesars Pizza, voted the best pizza value in America. Office Max, we go to the max for you. And by kpasa.com. Warm in Arizona, chilly under a full moon in San Francisco. A night where the Diamondbacks hope to be crowned National League Western Division champions. We played 2.5 so far, so good. 6-3 Diamondbacks in front of a big crowd. The final weekend of baseball at 3Com Park. Expecting huge crowds not only tonight but again tomorrow. And on Sunday afternoon, they're off on Monday, and then the final 3 games, as we mentioned, against their longtime rivals, both coming west from New York. The Los Angeles Dodgers will be here Tuesday, Wednesday nights, Thursday afternoon. Giants will close out the year on the road in Colorado. Big inning right here for Randy Johnson. His team has given him a 4-run lead. It was cut down to 1. Now they've stretched it back to 3. Miller, Bonds, and Kent in the Giant third. And it's 2-0 to Bill Miller.
First game here at Candlestick Park was won by the Giants over the St. Louis Cardinals 3-1. And in that game, former National League President Bill White hit a home run. The first home run here at Candlestick Park.
Well, what a good man he is. Later became a terrific broadcaster and then the National League president. In the air to right field, Gilkey drifts in. Away. It's quite ironic that, just to get away from this game for a moment, you mentioned Bill White. How ironic it is that he resigned as National League president because of a squabble which took place between the umpires and both league presidents. Then the commissioner, Fay Vincent, overruling what the league presidents wanted to do, and Bill White said enough is enough. Bill White should have been in about his 10th or 12th year as commissioner of baseball right now. That went on the ground at Jay Bell, and Bonds retired 2 away in the inning. And here we're losing another good man in Leonard Coleman as president of the National League. Nearly a decade later, Bobby, and again, why? Because of the umpire situation and the way it is handled by the commissioner's office in Major League Baseball.
Well, hopefully that will not be the reason for any more good people being chased out of the game of baseball. Sandy Alderson in the Major League Baseball office certainly has some plans for how the umpire situation will be handled.
2 down for Jeff Kent. Randy Johnson has retired 6 in a row. Kent flying to right field his first time up. And he hammers this pitch into deep right center field. Finley at the wall, and he right up against the fence. Finley runs it down in right center. Greg Schulte coming over in a moment, and a 3-6-3 Diamondbacks.
Well, how you doing, everybody? Greg Schulte and Bob Brenly here at 3Com Park in San Francisco. Diamondbacks on top 6-3 as we move to the 4th inning. And the Diamondbacks will send up Gonzalez, Williams, and Colburn against Sean Estes. It's been a little rocky out there so far for the two ball clubs. 4 errors combined already, Bob. 3 by the Giants and 1 by Arizona.
Well, we mentioned it before. When the 49ers start their football season here at 3Com Park, that's when you really start to run into some defensive problems. The footing in the outfield in right center is very treacherous. You see the seams there in the grass. They carry out into the infield. I mean, you can imagine if you get 22 great big 300-pound guys pushing at each other, it's going to chew up that field.
Luis Gonzalez shortened a bunt and took a pitch high from Estes, and that's ball 1. 49ers going to play a Monday night game in Tempe on the upcoming Monday. 2-0 the count on Gonzo here. Gonzalez, Williams, and Colburn. That's one of those old excuse me swings by Gonzo. He was hit by a pitch last time up. He had a base hit in the 1st inning. Everybody from the Valley is involved with the Bay Area. Arizona State's up here to play California tomorrow over in Berkeley. Count on Gonzalez goes to 3-1. Gonzo with a hit tonight, closing in on 200. There's a foul backing out of play, 3-2. Louis now with 197 on the year. Talked to him a few times. He says, boy, that's definitely one he wants to get. 200 hits in a season. And a little excuse me swing foul.
You see the National League hit leaders. Luis Gonzalez 2 ahead of Doug Glanville of the Phillies. Neifi Perez, Jeff Cirillo, and Matt Williams also on that list.
Payoff pitch, and Gonzo a pop fly, shallow left. Now it's in foul ground, and a nice play by Bill Miller. Bill Miller ends up making a nice grab of a pop foul off the bat of Gonzo.
I can't even describe to you how tough this play is. Miller going into foul territory, looking directly back over his shoulder, has to hit the brakes and come back and make the underhanded sliding catch on that rubber warning track down there down the left field line. I mean, I saw, for my money, the greatest third baseman of all time, Mike Schmidt, get hit in the forehead with a pop-up here in foul territory one day.
Yeah, there's no such thing as an easy pop-up or fly ball in this ballpark. Now Matt Williams bats. Matty has walked, scored a run tonight. He's also tapped back to the mound. Matty's closing in on 100 runs scored on the year. He's got 96 now with his run tonight. That was outside. Greg Colburn is the on-deck hitter for the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks put 4 on the board in the 1st inning, only to see Ellis Burks hit a 3-run homer off Randy Johnson at the bottom of the 1st. And the Diamondbacks scored twice in the 3rd inning. A couple of errors hurting the Giants. Williams taps one foul. Williams scored 105 runs in 1993 with the Giants, so he's trying to get to the 100 mark again this year as a Diamondback. He to the Rockets, one to left field in front of Barry Bonds for a base hit. Well, that's something Giant fans saw many a time here in San Francisco when Matty was wearing the Giant colors.
He was a big fan favorite here in San Francisco, and a lot of people were very upset when Matt Williams was traded to the Cleveland Indians. Matty jumping on that fastball, lining it into left field.
Now Greg Colburn will bat. So Matt Williams with yet another hit. You saw him on that hit leader list in the National League. It gives him 186 now in the year. That's a career high. He's been in that category for a while. There's a strike to Colburn.
You mentioned 1993, the year Matt Williams scored 105 runs. That's the season that the San Francisco Giants won 103 ball games, and for their tremendous season got to watch the playoffs because the Braves won 104.
Colburn, a ground ball down third. It's a fair ball. They throw to second and out there. Miller through to Kent. They get the force play on Matt Williams. And Colburn reaches on the fielder's choice.
Miller goes into foul territory, loses his footing a little bit, still makes a strong throw over to Jeff Kent. You can see Matt Williams making sure that Kent doesn't have an opportunity to relay that throw onto first base and attempt a double play.
Here's a birthday boy, Bernard Gilkey. Bernard turning 33 today. He's got a double and an RBI, and he has struck out. Bernard takes one down low. Bernard Gilkey's been in the major leagues since 1990. Has never tasted the postseason. But he may taste that pretty quickly. He takes a strike, and it's 1-1.
If you're looking forward to the postseason, of course, we're not doing that just yet. But if you're thinking along those lines, the Diamondbacks have a lot of guys who have extensive postseason experience. Bernard Gilkey, not one of them.
Gilkey chops one foul, and now Estes gets ahead of him, a ball and 2 strikes.
Matter of fact, Bernard Gilkey ranks 3rd on the list of active players with most games played, yet never has played in a postseason game. Dave Martinez from Tampa Bay, 1,660 games. Brian McRae, 1,347 games. And Bernard Gilkey, 1,089 ball games without appearing in the postseason.
Estes is ahead of Gilkey here, a ball and 2 strikes. 2 outs here in the 4th inning. And Gilkey takes it into the dirt. Colburn going to second. The throw is high and safe. Colburn got a good read on that when it bounced away from service. He took off. It didn't bounce that far away, but a good read.
Tremendous base running. Colburn right here sees the ball headed for the dirt and breaks for second base. He didn't wait to see where it went after it hit Scott's Service. It's the only way you can advance on that ball because Service actually did a nice job of blocking that breaking pitch. But Colburn was off as soon as he saw the ball headed for the dirt.
Now Gilkey could get the run home. And he strikes out swinging, and the inning is over. So the wild pitch did not hurt. 3rd strikeout for Estes. Bottom of the 4th coming up. 6-3 Diamondbacks. 6-3 Diamondbacks on top. And when Randy Johnson faced Ellis Burks the first time up, well, Ellis Burks won that battle.
Burks jumping all over a high 3-1 fastball from Randy Johnson, sending it up into the bleachers in left field. Burks has had himself an outstanding season for the Giants, even in spite of the knee problems he's battled through most of the year.
So Burks to lead it off here. 30 home runs on the season now for Ellis. And Johnson takes one, throws one down low, and that's ball 1. Randy has struck out 3. Struck out the side in the 2nd inning. He's retired the last 7 he's faced. And there's one inside. Let's pause right here for station identification. You're watching Arizona Diamondbacks baseball.
You're watching KTVK, Phoenix, Arizona.
Tony Womack throws out Ellis Burks, and that's 8 in a row set down by the big unit. Tony Womack, his first chance at shortstop tonight. Tony's played well at short.
You know, he really has. Some of the people with the Giants broadcast crew were asking about Womack at shortstop, and I said that physically he's made all the plays he's had to make. Goes to his right well. He goes up the middle very well. He's got a strong enough arm to play the position. The only time you sense some uncertainty is on cutoff and relay plays sometimes. Depending on where the runners are on base, the shortstop will have different responsibilities, and there have been a couple occasions where it looked like Tony was a little out of place, but That's to be expected. A guy that up until this year was a second baseman.
Right.
Found himself playing right field, and a very strong right field for the Diamondbacks, and occasionally a start at shortstop every now and again.
Rich Aurelia, the batter now for the Giants. He had a base hit to left his first time up. Well, you remember when Jay Bell made the transfer over from shortstop to second? That was the difficulty he said that was bothering him. You know, where to go on the cutoff and the relay and everything else. It's a whole different look out there from second base to shortstop. And Jay has really turned into a very good second baseman for the Diamondbacks. Ground ball hit to short. Womack's got it. Goes him out. 2 up, 2 down here in the 4th inning. Well, here's our Jiffy Lube quiz question for you tonight. How many times have the Giants finished second? New York and San Francisco, we're told.
Well, that goes all the way back to 1883. And since 1883, if I can count, I had to take my shoes off. I think it's 23 times the Giants franchise has finished in second place.
So our answer is 23.
Well, that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. You win the cigar.
3 of the last 6 years they finished in second place.
And you saw that 24. Grounded to short. Oh, nice play by Womack. Low throw, and Colburn digs it out. I think Tony Womack answered that question. Nice play by Womack defensively as the inning comes to an end. The big unit set the side down in order 3 straight innings, and the Diamondbacks lead it.
Arizona Diamondbacks baseball is brought to you in part by McDonald's. Did somebody say McDonald's? APS, the power to make it happen. Infinity, official luxury vehicle of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And by Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
And it's a little chilly here at 3Com Park in San Francisco. Look into the Diamondback. Who is that masked man?
BK Kim is not used to this cold weather. After spending the summer in Phoenix and part of the year down in Tucson, very warm, very dry. He's not quite used to this weather yet.
Wow.
You know, we laugh about it, but that's something that a manager has to take into consideration when he thinks about going to his bullpen. You've got to give those guys time to get loose.
My goodness, Steve Finley just hits a bomb but foul into the upper deck at 3Com Park. Ooh.
Sean Estes over the 100 pitch mark, starting the 5th inning here.
That's hit into left center. Santangelo's got a beat on. He makes the catch. Finley is 1 for 2 with a sacrifice fly tonight. Kelly Stinnett will come to the plate. That big guy right there, Randy Johnson's helped his cause offensively tonight with a line drive RBI single. Stinnett's 0 for 2. He's reached on a fielder's choice, and Estes throws low ball 1. Well, the Mets got beat again tonight. And Atlanta won. Houston and Cincinnati won. The Mets are hearing footsteps. And they heard footsteps last year.
But that had to really rock the Mets going into Atlanta and getting swept by the Braves in what they were pointing to for a long time as a very pivotal series. The 3 games down Atlanta, also the 3 games in Shea next week. They really have to be shaken.
3-0. Well, Atlanta now with a 5-game lead in the East. The Mets have lost 4 in a row, and all of a sudden, Bob, their lead over Cincinnati in the wild card race is only a game. Here's a deep drive to left. Warning track wall, and you can touch them all. Kelly Stinnett. It's a home run, and the Diamondbacks extend their lead to 7-3. That one didn't get very high off the ground.
That was a screaming rocket to left field. Bonds barely had a chance to turn around, and that ball was already landing in the bleachers in left field. Well, we've talked at length about Kelly Stinnett and Damian Miller and the job they have done this year. Kelly went down to get that pitch, golfed it right off his ankles. A line drive into the left field seats.
So that home run for Kelly Stinnett, number 14, and he's getting the high fives in the dugout. Now Randy Johnson at the plate, and he fouls one back and out of play. Randy looks like he's got the hitting touch up there tonight.
Talking about those two catchers, they were hitting .246 for an average combined coming into play tonight. However, between them now 25 home runs, 85 RBIs, 33 doubles. They've scored 67 runs. That's pretty solid production from your two catchers behind the plate.
And defensively, wow. You may start a new trend in baseball. One thing about it, you keep them fresh. That ball's hit hard to third by the big unit.
Well, Bill Miller makes a nice play, and he's probably thinking in the back of his mind right now that this copyright telecast is presented solely for the entertainment of our viewing audience. Any retransmission or rebroadcast of the pictures, description, and accounts of the game without the express written consent of the Arizona Diamondbacks Baseball Club is strictly prohibited.
Now, how'd you know he was thinking that?
Well, I'm just guessing. Just tell by the way he went down to a knee to field that hard ground ball that was probably in the back of his mind.
I better get that ball over quick so Bob can get it in. Kelly Stinnett's home run this inning, his 14th of the year. He's giving the Diamondbacks another run. Deep drive, warning track, wall, and you can touch them all. Tony Womack. And the Diamondbacks lead it 8-3. Tony Womack had not hit a home run since July 21st when he hit that inside the park grand slam off Billy Wagner.
Well, this is an outside the park solo job. Got a fastball middle of the plate in. Got the good part of the bat on the ball and rode it right on out of here.
Grounded to second, and Jay Bell is thrown out. The inning comes to an end. But the Diamondbacks extend their lead. Homers by Stinnett and Womack, and it's 8-3 Arizona. Well, what's happening with the Diamondbacks? Brought to you by kpasa.com. You know about next year's season tickets. They're available for you, and there's the number at 602-514-8400. And you get $19.99 playoff tickets with $2,000 season ticket deposit. And don't forget to follow the prompt. In the process, Tony Womack a home run for the Diamondbacks. Kelly Stinnett a home run for the Diamondbacks. And their lead has gone to 5 here, 8-3 as the Giants bat in the bottom of the 5th inning. Randy Johnson is set down 10 in a row. And he faces Service, a pinch hitter who's on deck for Estes. And then FP Santangelo. We're glad to have you with us here tonight on what could be a very historic night. Diamondbacks baseball. There's a strike to Service. Buck's got the gloves on tonight. Jerry Colangelo with a smile on his face. Things going well right now. You know, what we saw in that first inning, Bob, is so typical of this Diamondback ball club. They come out strong only to see the opposition get right back into it, but the Diamondbacks don't miss a beat. They put 4 more on the board since, and they're back up to a 5-run lead. They didn't let a lot bother them.
Well, you call that approach business-like or professional or workman-like, whatever you want to call it. The Diamondbacks have done it all year long. They don't dwell too long on the losses from the day before or the victories for the day before, for that matter. The most important game is the one you're playing that night.
Swing and a miss. Service strikes out for the second time. That's number 4 for the big unit. And now 346 on the year.
Scott Service for the second time in the ball game. Goes down swinging. see from Service's expression, that's not a very appealing prospect facing the big unit.
There now is Jay Cannizzaro. This is a pretty good story. A guy who's been in the Giants system for some time. And he's up to bat here, pinch hitting for Estes.
He shot through the Giants minor league system. In 4 years, he made stops at all 4 levels and found himself in the major leagues. Had problems making the adjustment to big league pitching, was taken off the 40-man roster. And went down to the minor leagues again with a great attitude, determined that he was going to make it back up to the major leagues, and he's done exactly that. Hit 280 in AAA this year with 20 doubles, 26 homers, and 78 RBIs. For a middle infielder, 26 homers, pretty strong.
Randy Johnson ahead of him, no balls, 2 strikes.
The Giants had a couple of guys come up through their system this year. Calvin Murray, a guy that I believe has played 4 years in AAA ball, finally came into his own this year and was voted the Pacific Coast League Player of the Year.
Swing and a miss. Number 5 for the big unit. And on the season, number 347 for Randy Johnson.
Like a little slider from Randy Johnson that time.
Now the batter is Santangelo. He was struck out in the game. There's a strike. The next strikeout Randy Johnson picks up will tie Bob Feller for 5th place on most strikeouts in a season. And there's a shot to right. Gilkey is there coming in. He's got it. Another 1-2-3 inning, the 4th consecutive 1-2-3 inning for the big unit. 8-3 Diamondbacks lead it. Well, it's time now for our Bank One home run jackpot inning. When a Diamondbacks player hits a home run, Peggy Hughes of Mesa, Arizona, will win $1,000 of mutual fund shares, courtesy One Group Mutual Funds, Bank One's mutual fund family. And the Diamondbacks will send up Gonzo, Williams, and Colburn against the new pitcher, Mark Gardner.
Gardner's been a starter throughout the majority of his career and a starter throughout the majority of this season for the Giants. He started 21 ball games. This will be his 7th relief appearance for the Giants.
And he throws a strike to Luis Gonzalez, and it's 0-1.
Gardner, one of 4 Giants pitchers to give up better than 20 home runs this season.
That's off the glove of Gardner. Snow goes toward it, and that ended the play right there. And Luis Gonzalez will reach. That's a tough play for that first baseman when he sees it deflect off the pitcher's glove toward him. That's when Snow went toward the baseball. And any chance of getting Gonzo ended right there. And they give him a hit. So Gonzo gets his 2nd hit of the night. And he'll take it. Louis now on the year with that hit, 198. He's too shy of 200. Matt Williams, a chopper toward 3rd. Miller goes to 2nd, and it's off the bag. And reaching 2nd base safely is Gonzalez. And that'll be an error on Bill Miller, his 2nd of the night, the 4th by the Giants.
See, Greg, people think it was all me making those errors at 3rd base. I think this field is haunted for 3rd baseman. Bill Miller with the high throw to Jeff Kent, who was trying to stretch out there and get that ball before Gonzalez got to the bag, but the throw goes out into shallow center field. Runner's not able to advance any further, but another error for Bill Miller at 3rd base.
So Gonzo's at 2nd now. Matt Williams at 1st, and Greg Colburn to the plate. Colby's 0 for 3, but he's reached twice. On an error, scored a run, and he's reached on a fielder's choice. The ball he hit in the 1st inning, he really hammered it to center field. It was caught by Santangelo. And Colby's been a vital ingredient of this Diamondback success all season long, both off the bench as a pinch hitter and in his starts at first base. Gardner throws a strike.
And he's another Diamondback with some postseason experience. The Atlanta Braves 2 years in a row acquired Greg Colburn at the trading deadline to have him available off the bench in the postseason.
Here's a pitch outside. Well, Joe Garagiola Jr. and staff have done a remarkable job of going out and getting players either by free agency or with trades. There's Joe bundled up. Under your screen there. Swing and a miss. As I recall, the first day of free agency, both Colburn and Swindell signed with the Diamondbacks, so they didn't waste any time. They went right out and signed both, and they have both been big contributors all year.
And a lot of baseball people underestimate the importance of those middle relievers, the bench players, the guys to come off and pinch hit late in the ball game. A lot of times those are just roster fillers. But everybody with the Diamondbacks realized how important those positions are as far as winning and losing ball games, that many times that's when they are won or lost.
3-2 now on Colburn with 2 on and nobody out here in the 6th inning. Diamondbacks up 8-3. The runners start and Colburn hits one to third. Miller steps on the bag and throws to first, and that's a double play. I think Miller was breaking toward the bag with the runners going, and we'll take a look.
Nice play by Bill Miller. Good recovery defensive play. Strong throw across the infield in time to get Greg Colburn at first. Buck Showalter to roll the dice a little bit here. Normally a very non-aggressive team on the bases, pretty much just let the batters go up there and do what they do, with the exception of Tony Womack, but that time got the runner started in the hopes of staying out of a double play, and unfortunately Colburn hit the ball probably in the one location where the Giants could turn to.
Bernard Gilkey doubled his first time up, knocking in a run. He struck out his last 2 times at bat. And Gilkey takes a strike in the outside corner. Gardner gets ahead of him, 0-2.
Well, Gardner's your typical crafty veteran. Throws a couple of different fastballs, a big overhand curve, a slider, a changeup. He'll change arm angles. Try to work both sides of the plate up and down.
Gilkey, a base hit to left. Here comes Williams. Here comes Bonds. Here comes the throw. At the plate, he is out. Out at the plate, and the inning is over. And Brian Butterfield comes up from third. Matt Williams points to the plate. Here comes Buck. We'll take a look again. Williams thrown out. The inning's over. 8-3 Diamondbacks. Well, it's time now for our Shamrock Farms Farm Team Report. Let's take a look at some of the minor league leaders for the Diamondbacks. Home runs, Jack Cust at High Desert with 32. Doubles, Jared Patterson at both AAA and AA. Jamie Sykes put some good numbers together with triples. And Abraham Nunez at High Desert with 40 stolen bases. Randy Johnson has set down 13 in a row. Throws a strike here to Bill Miller. Diamondbacks up 5 as they try and shoot for the National League West Division title here tonight. The only team that has already clinched in the majors is Cleveland. I think they won, what was it, May 10th?
It was April 10th, wasn't it?
There's a ground ball to short. Womack has been busy over there. He throws another one away. We call back in the 4th inning. Tony handled the side. 1-2-3.
Now Brian Butterfield, very aggressive, coaching third base, sending Matt Williams on that base hit to Barry Bonds in left field. This is the tail end of that play. Matty trying to get around Scott Service. His front foot blasts through the legs of Service and hits the plate before the tag is applied to Matty's rear end. Tough angle for Brian Gorman to see that particular tag and the foot on home plate. But once Service shows him that he held onto the ball, he calls Matty out at the plate.
You know when that umpire delays that if that catcher has caught the ball, it's going to be an out signal.
That's the reason for the delay. They're just waiting to see if in this case, the catcher, or in other cases, the infielder hangs on to the ball, and then the out call will be made.
Well, Randy Johnson's dealing here tonight. He's set down 14 in a row. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Barry Bonds. And Randy doesn't necessarily have to strike out a lot of people to be effective. We've seen that. We're seeing it here tonight. He still struck out 5. There's a chopper to the right side. Colburn gets it, boots it, and safe. Another error in this game. And that will be the 6th, the second by the Diamondbacks. That's an error on Colburn.
Colburn just took his eye off the ball momentarily to take a peek up to see where Bonds was. You can see Randy hustling over to cover the bag, something he hasn't done at times this season. Randy gets there, tries to apply the tag, and looks like a twister game over there at first base. Right foot yellow, left hand blue. Very safe. Well, we've seen a lot of bizarre things happen this year, Greg. We've seen a lot of great things with the Diamondbacks. Anything unusual or, oh boy, that stands out in your mind as a defining moment of this season, or something that you really look back on and laugh, or anything like that?
Funny, or could it be anything?
Anything.
Well, I look back at that July 20th game when Randy Johnson took them on in Seattle. You were there, Bob. I mean, it was at Safeco Field. They just opened the ballpark. The Diamondbacks at the start after the All-Star break had gone 1-4. And Randy Johnson came out of the bullpen after warming up before the ballgame. He got a tremendous, long, and loud standing ovation, and then proceeded to go out and shut out his former team. And from then, the Diamondbacks have been a totally different ball club.
Now that really was like, if you had to pick one game as the turning point where the team really started to believe in themselves and really think that they could go somewhere, that was it.
Deep drive to right, but Gilkey is going to get it. He's got it right in front of the warning track. Well, since that time, they've gone 43-15. Wow. Going into that ball game, the Diamondbacks started that ball game. They were 49-45, 4 games above 500. It's like the rest of the Diamondbacks saw Randy go out and do that. And I mean, that was an emotional night, an emotional time for Randy. And they just took off and ran from there. I mean, there have been a lot of highlights. The Kelly Stinnett home run in the 16th inning against the Dodgers. I mean, you can go on and on and on about this season.
One of my personal favorites was the back-to-back-to-back walk-off home run games against the Expos, when Jay Bell, the number 2 hitter, hit a home run to win a ball game in the bottom of the 9th. Luis Gonzalez, the number 3 hitter, did the same thing the next night. Matt Williams completed the triple header by doing it in the 3rd game of the series.
But a lot of shining moments. The Tony Womack inside the park slam off Billy Wagner. He gave the Diamondbacks a sweep of the Astros. There's a foul out of play by Ellis Burks. The acquisition of Matt Manti, which really stabilized the bullpen.
And the very professional manner in which everybody involved handled that entire situation. Greg Olson saved 30 ball games for the expansion club in their first year. Struggled early in the season. It could have been a very ugly situation bringing in an established closer like Manti, but everybody handled it very professionally.
There's the 6th strikeout for Randy Johnson. He ties Bob Feller 5th on the top strikeout seasons in the history. 8-3 Diamondbacks. Tommy's back with you in the 7th.
Well, the Diamondbacks faithful expecting as puppies here tonight. They can't wait to begin the celebration. We're still 3 full innings away from that beginning to happen. The Nissan game summary: Diamondbacks 4 runs in the first inning. The big unit allowed 3, then settled in, retiring 14 straight hitters before an error by Greg Colburn allowed Bonds to reach in the 6th. 16 of the last 17 have been set down by Randy Johnson. And the Diamondbacks in front by 5 as they bat against Gardner. Shattered bat, roller to Kent. 1 away.
I mean, a big unit doing it not only with the strikeout tonight. He has 6 punch outs in the ball game so far, but the majority of the outs coming on balls put into play either off the end of the bat or down near the handle. The Giants not really able to get the good part of the bat consistently on the big unit. There have been a couple of hard hit balls, but for the most part, some very defensive swings, some very weak hit balls.
Kelly Stinnett homered to left field in the 5th inning. And he takes high for ball 1. Diamondbacks are 9 outs away from clinching the National League's Western Division title. Trying to become just the 7th team in Major League history to go from worst to first in 2 consecutive seasons. You throw out really the 1890 Louisville Cardinals of the American Association, and then you step back and look at the other 5 teams that have gone from worst to first in 2 straight years. 4 of those 5 teams advanced on to the World Series that year. In 1991, 2 teams did it, the Atlanta Braves and the Minnesota Twins. In 1993, the Phillies, after finishing last the year before, advanced on to the World Series against Toronto. The 97 Giants went from worst to first in 97. They did not make the World Series, but then last year, Bobby, the Padres did it.
That's quite an accomplishment. I mean, and credit to be given all the way around the organization. It takes more than just good players at the big league level to go from the worst team to the first team. The scouting department has to take a lot of credit. All those people that work so hard in the front office, scouring the minor leagues, the winter leagues, the summer leagues, the colleges, the high schools. And of course, you have to have an owner that's willing to do whatever it takes to put a winning team on the field.
And there a strike to Randy Johnson, and that owner, Jerry Colangelo, I think sent out that statement, Bobby, you're talking about, more so than any other single moment in franchise history, as when the day came that the Diamondbacks had signed Randy Johnson. He scalds one to straightaway center field. It'll go to the wall, and the big unit races into second with his 2nd hit of the game. How about that?
Randy making a statement to hit higher in the order in the postseason. They're wasting his bat down there in the 9 spot. F.P. Santangelo playing very shallow in center field. Another high fastball up above the belt. That's the ball that he gets to. That bat still looks like a souvenir bat day.
You're right.
Kid's bat in his hand, but man, when he makes contact on those high fastballs, he can hit them hard. 4 doubles on the season for the big unit.
And he has 6 runs batted in this season. Getting that RBI single to center back in the Diamondbacks' 3rd inning. Tony Womack, 2 for 4. A single to hit a solo home run. There's ball 1 high. But Bobby, don't you think the difference was when the Diamondbacks signed Johnson? I think the baseball world went, whoa, hang on a minute.
There's no question about it. I mean, that's the kind of guy that any team would like to plug into the top of their rotation.
Womack, a fly ball to center field. We'll talk more about Randy Johnson and the man who went out to get him. Diamondbacks lead 8-3. What's on tap brought to you by Miller Lite. Our next telecast on the Diamondbacks television network will be Sunday. Finale of this series. That'll be a 1 o'clock starting time on Sunday. Now, what in the world is this music? I've never heard this before in my life.
Well, I need a little help with this one myself. This was from a situation comedy called Sledgehammer. It's kind of a satire, a takeoff on all the cop shows that were on TV at the time, and there was a Detective Inspector Sledgehammer was his name. And they're going to take a sledgehammer to this dump in 5 days. Tell it goodbye.
They're not going to tear this place down. That's what you want to happen.
Well, that's
the
what
49ers are going to play.
That's
here.
all right, and I understand that, but just the idea of taking a sledgehammer and taking as long as it takes to turn this place into a pile of rubble. Easy.
Well, you're allowed to say it. You played here for many, many years. On many nights just like this one.
I was talking to some of the Giants players down in the clubhouse today about the first time when you come up from most of the players live down the peninsula from Candlestick Park, from 3Com. And when you drive north on Highway 101, you come around a bend in the road down by South San Francisco, and you see the bay off to your right, and there's 3Com Park sitting out on Candlestick Point. And I can still remember the first time I drove up that freeway and saw that ballpark and just thought, wow, this is the big leagues. What a place. What a great place to play ball. Then I played here for a few years.
It'll change in a hurry. Randy Johnson on the mound as the Giants bat in the bottom of the 7th. He's retired 16 of the last 17 hitters he's faced. The only man that reached was Barry Bonds on a slow roller right at Greg Colburn that he just couldn't pick up. It was an error on Colburn. The last hit by the Giants was an Aurelia single after the Burks home run in the first inning. And you can change that now as Aurelia singles to begin the 7th inning.
Ball hit right back through the big unit. Just avoids that left foot, gets it out of the way. Jay Bell can't quite get to it. Those are the kind of base hits that have the entire coaching staff and manager Buck Showalter holding their breath over there in that third base dugout. The last thing you want to see is Randy Johnson getting hit with a comebacker to the mound.
JT Snow has hit the ball very hard twice against Johnson tonight. He is lined to left. And then hit a rocket one hopper right at Tony Womack, the shortstop, ending the 4th inning. Ball 1 to Snow. One and 0 to JT Snow, and a slider misses inside. It's 2 balls and no strikes. Johnson wanted that call.
Well, he looked in for an extra second or two after Kelly Stinnett threw the ball back, and home plate umpire Brian Gorman just kind of nodded his head inside, meaning it was just a little inside for me, and Randy nodded his head okay.
One hopper at Womack, and he can't get the throw to Bell. Fires to first, not in time. That'll be an error on Tony Womack. The 3rd error by the Diamondbacks, the 7th error in the game.
Like Tony Womack just tried to shovel that ball out of the glove before he had a good handle on it. It looked like he turned his glove over and expected to drop the ball into his throwing hand, and we've talked about that before. Infield instructors will always tell you to take your bare hand and put it into the glove. Don't try to flip the ball from your glove into your hand. Don't try to drop the ball from the glove into your hand. Put your hand into the glove.
So now the Giants are trying to get back in it. Doug Mirabelli steps in there to back, and he looks at ball 1 down and in. No activity in the Diamondbacks bullpen. Randy Johnson told Buck Showalter he wants to be on the mound. And the Diamondbacks clinching the Western Division title tonight. But a hit and an error have given the Giants life. And there's a strike. It's 1-1. "99 pitches in the game for Randy Johnson. This will be number 100. And it's a foul ball, 1-2 to Doug Mirabelli.
The sloppy defensive play is not out of the ordinary at this ballpark for a number of reasons. We talked about how the field gets chewed up this time of year because of the football games being played. Also defensively, if you don't get a ball hit to you for a couple innings and you don't reach base as a batter, suddenly you start to catch a chill and your muscles get a little tighter and your reactions are just a little slower. Arabelli chases a slider down in the dirt for strike 3. Your hands get cold. You don't have as good a feeling when you go into the glove to grab that ball. All those things factor in here at 3Com Park. Ideally, defensively, you get a lot of action. You want to have a lot of balls hit to you. As a hitter, you want to at least put the ball in play so you can run the bases and stay warm.
Ramon Martinez is announced as a pinch hitter for Mark Gardner. And now Mark Connor, the Diamondback pitching coach, will slowly walk out to the mound and go over the scouting report on Ramon Martinez with Randy Johnson. Two innings of 3-hit shutout baseball by Gardner in relief of Sean Estes. Gardner fans one, does not walk about it. He will give way to Felix Rodriguez, the former Diamondback who is warming up in the Giant bullpen. Two on, one out. And Martinez drives one to deep right center field. But Finley has room in front of the track. Second out of the inning, and Aurelia tags and advances to third.
We're going to see Felix Rodriguez. He'll be the next pitcher for the Giants when the D-backs come to bat in the top of the 8th inning. Rodriguez had a pretty decent year for the Giants. 2-3 record with a 3.77 ERA in 43 ball games.
FP Santangelo 0 for 3. Runners on the corners with 2 out. And he takes a strike at the belt. Really at third, Snow at first. Swing and a miss on the slider by Johnson. He's ahead 0-2. Randy has struck out 7 batters in the game tonight. And that ties him for the 4th best strikeout mark in the history of Major League Baseball, tying Rube Waddell's mark. And that, of course, is for the most strikeouts in a single season, the all-time record held by Nolan Ryan, who struck out 383 batters. Johnson's next strikeout will be number 350 on the year. And there it is. 1 hit, 1 error, 2 men left. We go to the 8th. 8-3 Diamondbacks. This day in baseball brought to you by the Team Shop. Hall of Famer Jimmy Fox clubbed his 500th career home run back in 1940.
I wonder if Jimmy Fox was any relation to Red Fox. They both spell their name with 2 X's on the end.
You think the chances of that are likely?
No.
Okay, well, that's an interesting thought anyway, as Felix Rodriguez takes over on the mound. In there, strike to Jay Bell. Here's the 0-1, and it's outside. A ball and a strike. Bobby, did you wear your wetsuit tonight?
You think I'll need it?
I got a feeling you might need it tonight, big boy.
Maybe an umbrella?
You better bring 2. For those of you wondering what in the world it is we're talking about, should there be a clinch here tonight for the Diamondbacks? For those of you in Phoenix, do not touch that dial when the game is over. Keep it on our flagship home, KTVK Channel 3. Because right after the ball game, we'll be going to the Channel 3 News, the place, Bobby, with more stuff. And we will be coming right back here to 3Com Park, where Bob Brenly will be in the Diamondbacks locker room, where the Brenly has been on ice all day long.
Looking forward to it.
3-1 to Jay Bell, and it's ball 4 inside. Now, Bobby, you went as far as to bring a change of clothes here tonight, did you not? Just in case the Diamondbacks put everything to rest.
I carried my luggage to the ballpark. It was almost like a getaway day. I had the briefcase that we normally carry with all of our statistical information, our scorebooks and pens and pencils and so forth. And also brought a suit bag with 2 changes of clothes just in case.
And what is it you have in that suit bag?
You can bet it's none of my good stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure.
A couple of pairs of jeans, a couple of t-shirts, and a hat.
Attaboy. Diamondbacks are 6 outs away from winning the West. Into left center field. Bonds will run it down in front of the wall. Taking away extra bases for Gonzalez. 1 away in the inning.
Barry playing on that gimpy right knee, sore elbow, sore back, sore hamstrings. Still running them down out there in the gap. But Barry Bonds was one guy that was not looking forward to see the Diamondbacks clinch in front of him on his home field. It's happened to his count 8 times in his career. 1990. The Reds celebrated a 6-game victory over the Pirates. Bonds was a part of the Pirates at that time. 91, the Braves won the pennant by beating the Pirates in 7 games. Again in 92, the Braves beat the Pirates in 7. In 93, it wasn't so much that the team clinched. However, the Dodgers knocked the Giants out of the playoffs the year they won 103 ball games and did not advance. 95, the Rockies beat the Giants on the final weekend as Matt Williams singles into left field. 97, the Florida Marlins swept the Giants, including the clinching series here at Candlestick. And in 1998, the Cubs, in the 163rd game of the season, won that 1-game wild card playoff. So Bonds has seen more than his share of celebrating, and he hasn't been a part of it.
At my count, Bonds has only been a part of 4 celebrations, but those were all divisional championships. You mentioned the 3 years with the Pirates, 3 straight Eastern Division titles in 90, 91, and 92. And then in 1997, the Giants were the National League Western Division champs under Dusty Baker. You don't like being on the short end of those celebration counts. Rubiel Durazo will now bat for Greg Colburn. Diamondbacks have 2 on with only 1 out, and there's a strike on Durazo. Well, what a huge part of the Diamondbacks turnaround has Rubiel Durazo been. Travis Lee started the year as a regular first baseman, was slumping. Greg Colburn got a little more playing time, then Lee got hurt. Durazo came aboard, and the Diamondbacks basically ever since then, Bobby, have been picking up day by day, a game here, maybe slip a half game there, pick up 2 more after that, and Durazo's just been tearing it up.
When you've got 4 guys in the middle of your lineup having big years the way Bell, Gonzalez, Williams, and Finley have this year, you need somebody at the bottom of that order to drive those guys in. And Durazo, when he first came to the D-backs, was hitting lower in the order, and as he earned the right to hit higher and higher in those RBI spots, he eventually worked his way up to the 5 spot behind Matt Williams. That's generally where he hits when he starts a ball game at first base, is right behind Matty. And he actually hit clean off a game when Matt Williams was called home to take care of some family problems. Durazo was the number 4 hitter.
Foul ball out of play, 0-2 on Rubiel Durazo. And Durazo figures to be against a right-hander in the lineup once the postseason comes around. I mean, when you have done what he has been able to accomplish in 136 at bats, a .316 hitter with a stunning 11 home runs, 25 batted in, and 22 walks. Throw those in. They've led to some big innings for the Diamondbacks this season. Oh, and 2 on Durazo, and he lifts a fly ball into short left center. On the run, Santangelo, he can't get it. Scoring is Bell. Williams on to third, and Durazo has done it again. A base hit drives home a run, his 26th. And the Diamondbacks now beginning to widen the margin. It is 9-3.
Boy, Durazo has such a good eye for the strike zone and such a quick bat. A lot of times with 2 strikes on the hitter, they become so defensive that they don't even drive the ball. They don't hit it hard enough to do any damage. Durazo with 2 strikes reaches out there and hits a pitch that may be a couple inches off the outside corner and drives it into that gap in left center field.
Now Gilkey with runners on the corners and 1 out. He looks at the ball. Gilkey 2 hits and 4 at bats, has knocked in a run. He has a double and a single. Foul out of play, 1-1. Well, for Dusty Baker and the Giants, you have to say congratulations to them for what they've been able to do this season. They've had so many of their great stars that have been injured at various points in time. I mean, they've only had 45 games this season where Bonds, Kent, Burks, and Snow have been in the lineup at the same time. That one drilled into right center field. This will bring in another run. Tagging and scoring is Williams, and Gilkey 2 RBIs tonight, getting to start in right field. And the Diamondbacks have reached double digits. It's a 10-3 lead. Jerry's starting to chew that gum a little harder and a little faster.
I wonder if he brought a change of clothing.
I don't think he's worried about it. I think he'll hang on to whatever clothing gets doused with a champagne later tonight and put it somewhere where he's reminded of it on a regular basis. See Rich Dozer, the team president, sitting behind Jerry Colangelo, his wife Karen. There's Chrissy Brubaker, Sandy Johnson, assistant to the general manager. A rocket, what a play by Snow. Wow, doesn't get much better than that. The Diamondbacks score 2 more. We go to the bottom of the 8th. 6 outs away from a division championship. Our America West Major League scoreboard. Atlanta wins again in 10 innings over Montreal. The New York Mets let Philadelphia score twice in the bottom of the 8th inning. The Mets are now 1 game in front of Cincinnati, Bobby, in the wild card. The Reds rally from 4-1 down to beat St. Louis in the opener of a 4-game series there. And Houston, a huge rally in the bottom of the 8th to come from behind and beat Milwaukee. So the Astros remain 2.5 up on Cincinnati in the Central. And we mentioned, Bobby, the Mets have now lost 4 in a row and have a 1-game lead in the wild card. Wow.
They're still reeling from that series sweep down in Atlanta. Well, I'll tell you, that was something to watch, Tommy. I think you'll agree with me. The Atlanta Braves shifted it into another gear.
Oh, yeah.
They sensed that was a big series, and you saw some emotion from what is considered to be one of the most businesslike teams in baseball. I mean, John Smoltz, Greg Maddux, all of those guys pumping their hands after strikeouts. Lots of high fives in the dugout. There was some emotional involvement in that series.
And it is hard to find a more big-time performer in a showdown 3-game series than the series by Chipper Jones of the Braves. He was clearly the best player on the field. He was the best player in the league for the last 3 games. Diamondbacks lead here 10-3 on the ground. Bell, a diving play, throws him out from his back. What a play by Bell. And Miller retired on a sensational play by the Diamondbacks second baseman.
J. Bell going to his left, smothers that ball, doesn't have time to get to his feet, so he just throws from a seated position onto Durazo in plenty of time to get Bill Miller at first. Well, you know, J. Bell has made 21 errors this season over there at second base, his first full year playing second base. But as the season has progressed, he has gotten better and better, smoother on the double play turn. And you mentioned it earlier, Tommy, just a quiet leader, shows up every day, plays the game the way it's supposed to be played.
His longtime teammate on those terrific Pirate teams, Barry Bonds, with 1 out, nobody on, and the Giants season, for all intents and purposes, beginning to slip away. That one into left center, caught by Gonzalez. Let's step out for a station ID. You're watching Arizona Diamondbacks baseball.
You're watching KTVK, Phoenix, Arizona.
Diamondbacks are now 4 outs away from a Western Division title. Jeff Kent, the batter, 0 for 3 in the game, and Randy Johnson still out there on the mound, going for his 16th win of the year. Has not allowed an earned run in this game, and only 1 hit since the first inning. 1-1 to Jeff Kent. Johnson at 115 pitches in the game. The Giants have had only 3 base runners since the first inning. Fouled out of play, and 2 of them came on errors. One by Colburn, the other by Womack. The third was a single by Aurelia leading off the 7th inning, after Johnson had gone through a stretch where he retired at one point 14 in a row and 16 out of 17.
After that leadoff single by Aurelia in the 7th inning, you may remember a double play ground ball hit to Tony Womack. He couldn't find the handle on it. The Giants had runners at first and second with nobody out, and Randy proceeded to strike out 2 of the next 3 batters and get a fly ball to shallow center field to get out of the inning.
Johnson has struck out 8. He has not walked a batter. 350 strikeouts on the year for Randy Johnson against 68 walks. Those are just stunning numbers. I mean, most pitchers, Bobby, are happy with a 2-to-1 ratio, strikeout to walk. Really good pitchers go 3-to-1. Johnson nearly 5-to-1. Swung on and missed, the unit's 9th strikeout. We go to the 9th inning. Diamondbacks lead 10-3. Arizona Diamondbacks baseball is brought to you in part by Ricoh Corporation, Icon Office Solutions, Jiffy Lube, Signature Service, more than an oil change, Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, and by the Tobacco Education and Prevention Program. We've arrived at the top of the 9th inning. Bob Brenly is making his way down to the Diamondbacks clubhouse. Should there be a post-game celebration? And with the Diamondbacks leading 10-3, there's every reason in the world to believe there will be one. Randy Johnson has gone 8 sensational innings here tonight. has not given up an earned run. And the Diamondbacks are 3 outs away from winning the National League West. Julian Tavares is taking over on the mound here in the top of the 9th inning. Kelly Stinnett, Randy Johnson, and Tony Womack are due up. Check swing, and it's called a ball. 2-0 on Stinnett, who is 1 of 4 in the game. He hit a solo home run, his 14th of the year, in the 5th inning. That one fouled away. Well, the Diamondbacks chronology, you turn back some memorable moments. Starting in November the 10th of that year in 1993. At a jam-packed news conference then at America West Arena, Jerry Colangelo announces he'll put together an ownership group that will apply for a Major League Baseball expansion franchise. It's 2-2 on Stinnett. February 17th of 94, still to this day in some people's minds, a highly controversial Maricopa County supervisor's vote of 3-1 for the stadium tax. And hopefully many of those that were against that tax are able to put it behind them and celebrate here tonight. November the 2nd of 94 at a meeting in Chicago, the hometown of the Diamondbacks man in charge. Major League Baseball's expansion committee heard presentations from Jerry Colangelo and a Phoenix group as that one is fouled out of play. And would-be ownership groups from Orlando, Florida, the Tampa-St. Pete area, and 2 from Northern Virginia. And then it became official on March the 9th of 95. The Diamondbacks were given an expansion franchise to begin play in 98. There's a base hit into right center field by Kelly Stinnett to open the 9th inning. Randy Johnson now the batter. And what a night it's been for Johnson, not only on the mound but also with a bat. An RBI single, a huge base hit in that 3rd inning. As he looks at a strike. Then he doubled to straightaway center field in the 7th. November the 15th, 1995. That is a day that many Diamondback fans will never forget. In fact, the entire baseball world in many ways will never forget. That one slowly hit at Aurelia, and he'll take the out at first base. When the Diamondbacks then were still 2 seasons away from opening day that would come 2 years later, the Diamondbacks named their manager Nathaniel Hawthorne Showalter, known as Buck, who was coming off being the American League's Manager of the Year in 1994 with the New York Yankees. In 95, he led New York to a wild card spot in the playoffs, signed a 7-year contract, and he traveled all over the world. We talked to Buck before the game today, and we were asking him, of all of the things that you did and all of the places that you went in helping prepare this team and put this team together, is there anything that really stands out? He says, no, I can remember all of them like it was just yesterday. Tony Womack looks at a ball. He traveled all over the United States, went to Japan, Korea, Latin America, the Caribbean World Series, with the majority on the focus, of course, on preparing for the expansion draft. And boy, in October of 97, leading up to that draft, he was telling a story before the game today that starting at about October the 2nd through about the 14th of November, they were in meetings beginning at 8 o'clock in the morning that went until sometimes 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock the next morning. He said those are the times that he will forever remember. And the thing that gets him more emotional about anything, even to this day, when he looks at the players that were here from the very beginning and those that are still here now, guys that they acquired in the expansion draft, like Brian Anderson and Omar Dahl and Hanley Frias, among others. Kelly Stinnett, Damian Miller. There's a rocket one hopper picked up by Aurelia, and he'll throw out Womack for the second out of the inning. Two away here in the Diamondbacks ninth, and now it'll be Jay Bell. Jay Bell suffered through the 97 losses of last year. Everybody talked about the Diamondbacks paying too much money for Jay Bell, that he wasn't worth that kind of salary. The Diamondbacks brought him in for a lot more reasons than swinging the bat and picking up the ball in the infield as he checks his swing. It's a strike. They felt he would be a character guy on this team that would help bring in some of the young players and teach them to learn the finer points of the game. Was it a good sign now? Go ask the other 29 general managers in baseball. 0-2 to Bell. Bell is on the brink of becoming just the fourth, pardon me, in the history of baseball to hit 40 or more home runs in a single season. So I would think the general managers of the other team said, not a bad sign. One and two to Bell. Bell is hit by the 1-2 pitch from Tavares. And he will trot on up to first base. Looked like it got him in the back arm, the right arm. Hopefully Jay's all right. See if we can tell a little closer where this pitch got him. Yeah, that back forearm. Well, you don't want to get anywhere close to that wrist area. The forearm, that'll hurt. You start getting into the wrist and the elbow, and you might have some problems. Now Luis Gonzalez. On the ground through the hole into right field, a base hit. They're going to wave around Stinnett. The throw will go to third, and in there safely is Bell. Gonzalez an RBI single, his third hit of the game. 106th run batted in on the year, and the Diamondbacks lead 11-3. Get a good look at Gonzalez just turning on that pitch from Tavares. And Brian Butterfield waving in Stinnett with the 11th run of the ball game. Runners on the corners, two away here in the Diamondback ninth, and now it's Matt Williams. And there's a strike. And to reiterate something we brought up earlier, the Diamondbacks are trying to become just the 7th team in Major League Baseball history, the history of baseball, to go from worst to first in 2 consecutive years. It'll be the 3rd straight season a team has done that. 97 Giants, 98 Padres, 99 Diamondbacks. 1-1. It's hard to believe just saying it. The Diamondbacks are going to win, barring a miracle comeback by the Giants, in just their 2nd year, the National League's Western Division title. Boy. Then he felt when Matt Williams requested a trade, leaving the Cleveland Indians and that powerhouse franchise, wanting to come home to spend his final years in baseball with his children who lived in the Valley. He said, what is this guy, nuts? Played in 2 World Series and never won a World Series, with the Giants in '89 and the Tribe in '97. Well, he may be back this year. Miller makes a play. He'll go the short way, and that'll end the inning. So Randy Johnson will take the ball in the bottom of the ninth, trying to clinch the National League West for the Diamondbacks. Our Miller Lite player of the game, who else? Randy Johnson. He has done it all here tonight. He's racked up 9 strikeouts, for the 4th most strikeouts in a single season in the history of baseball. 350 of those on the year. And he's done it with a bat as well. An RBI single to center in the 3rd, a double over Santangelo's head in the 7th. And Johnson will take the ball here in the bottom of the 9th inning, trying to clinch the National League's Western Division for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Nobody warming up. Johnson told Buck Showalter on the plane leaving Colorado, "I want the ball when we seal the deal in San Francisco," meaning he wants to have the ball and be on the mound. Ellis Burks, Rich Aurelia, JT Snow due up. And Burks the only man who's done damage against Johnson tonight, and he should have never batted in the 1st inning. Were it not for an error, he never would have come to the plate and clubbed that 3-run home run. All 3 runs allowed by Johnson tonight have been unearned runs, and has allowed only 1 hit since the opening inning. 2-1 on Ellis Burks. 2-1 pitch, and it's in the air, foul ground, first base side, and that ball will drift out of play. Randy Johnson signed as a free agent with the Diamondbacks on the 1st of December. And now the 35-year-old native of Wall Creek, California, who has made his home in the Valley for a number of years, is 3 outs away from a division championship, and make it 2 outs away as Burks has gone swinging. 10th strikeout of the night by Randy Johnson. The 124th game in his career he struck out at least 10 batters. That is second only to Nolan Ryan, who had 215 of those in his Hall of Fame career. 1 away in the ninth. There's ball 1, and now Kelly Snell going to make sure that Randy's all right. You saw him flexing his thumb a little bit after getting that strikeout. Randy Johnson, of course, back in 1995, pitched the Seattle Mariners to the AL West title. Won some huge games that year, not only in the regular season, but also the postseason. That 1-game playoff, he beat Anaheim in a complete game. Then in Game 3 of the division series, he beat the Yankees. Line drive, center field, base hit. For Rich Aurelia, he has 3 of the 5 hits in the game against Johnson tonight. Diamondbacks 2 outs away from winning the 1999 Western Division title. JT Snow, the batter. 0 for 3, reached on an error his last time up, and there's ball 1. The Diamondbacks winning a division championship tonight would make them the first expansion club to win a division title in under 8 years. The Colorado Rockies made it to the playoffs in 1997 in their 3rd year. 1995, pardon me, but they did it as a wild card. Chop foul off Snow's foot. A ball and a strike. The interesting thing about that Rocky season of '95, you may remember, that was the strike-shortened season. And those, not to take anything away from that Rockies team, but boy, they were reeling at the end of the year. They had to clinch the wild card spot the final day of the season. Here the Diamondbacks are trying to wrap up a division title with a week to go. 1-2 now to JT Snow. Swing and a miss by Snow, and now the Diamondbacks are an out away from winning the Western Division title. That champagne has been on ice just about all day long, and that is our Geico Direct moment. That is until the Diamondbacks get this final out. But Jerry Colangelo, the entire Diamondbacks family, not only those that are here tonight, those that are wearing the uniform, those that have been part of this franchise, those that work in the offices and have been around going back to 1995, and most of all for the fans of the Diamondbacks. A moment to treasure as it's ball one outside to Doug Mirabelli. There you see the shirts waiting. Boy, are those sweet. Mirabelli waits. Swing and a miss. It's a ball and a strike. Johnson has struck out 11. He's trying to make it 12. 1 out away, 2 strikes away from winning the National League's Western Division. The 1-1 pitch. Slider down and in, comes all the way back to the screen. And Rich Aurelio will advance on to second. That's about the only thing wrong Johnson has done tonight. On Doug Mirabelli, and it's down and in. 3 balls and a strike. Three balls and a strike on Mirabelli with 2 down in the ninth. Ground ball third. Williams has it, throws to first, and in the National League West, the buck stops here. Born in '98, the Diamondbacks are champions of the West in 1999. In just their second season, the Arizona Diamondbacks are the fastest expansion team to reach the playoffs in baseball history. Buck Showalter, clearly overwhelmed with emotion, left all alone in the Diamondbacks dugout as the rest of the team celebrates their Western Division championship here at 3Com Park in San Francisco. The players will celebrate, and for those of you back in Arizona and throughout the Southwest, it's time for you to celebrate. Johnson. His 12th complete game of the year, which is tops in the major leagues. He leads the major leagues in innings pitched. He leads the major leagues in strikeouts. He leads the National League in ERA, but most important, Randy Johnson leads the Diamondbacks to a divisional championship in just their second year. Who said that catching the dream is often not as much fun as chasing it? Tonight,